Hello and welcome, and I hope everyone had a good Christmas and New Year. As it's January, I wanted to talk about a topic along the lines of planning ahead, building strong foundations, and being prepared for the year ahead. But before I begin, let me give you a quick introduction to myself so you can see how I can help you. I'm Sharon Mashan. I work with Steve. He's my husband and business partner. We started investing in property in the early 2000s, and around 2011, as a result of Steve taking voluntary redundancy, we went on to do some professional property training, and that really kick-started our property investing journey. We quickly built our own portfolio. We attracted a joint venture partner to purchase even more property, and from that we created our own property management company to manage the properties we were buying. This led us on to source properties, and we've helped investors based all over the world build their property portfolios too. We manage these properties for our clients, and nowadays we specialise in managing high-end HMOs across Warrington and Wigan. More recently, we've developed a training arm to our business called the Property Management Programme. Our mission is to provide the information and education property owners need to help fulfil the many hazards we face in today's increasingly regulated industry, and to help you fulfil your dreams of becoming a successful property entrepreneur. Our Landlord's Ultimate How-To Guide is a standalone resource for fellow property investors who want to have the knowledge and confidence to manage their own properties for themselves, or want to understand what their managing agent should be doing on their behalf. In a last-minute rush over the Christmas period, the post-Brexit trade deal was agreed. So what does this mean for us as property investors? I've taken a look at just one element of the deal around freedom of movement for those people wanting to work in the UK. You may be like me in that many of my tenants over the years have arrived here from Europe looking for work in places like Amazon and the Hut Group. As of the 1st of January, no one can now come to the UK speculatively like this to look for such jobs. Instead, everyone looking to enter the UK for study or work now needs to apply for and qualify for a visa. And there are fees too, which vary depending on the type of visa being applied for. There are many specialist types of visa covering temporary employment, working with charities, religious organisations, seasonal workers, or if you're looking to start up a new business. In terms of longer-term employment options, there are now only 5 broad categories: sportsperson, minister of religion, intra-company visa, so this is where you work for an employer abroad and they send you to the UK to work for a short period of time. There's a visa for medical professionals, and finally a skilled worker visa, which replaces what was known as Tier 2 General Work Visa. To qualify for such a visa, the person must have a confirmed job offer from a UK employer that's been approved by the Home Office, and there's a list available to check to make sure that the employer has been approved. They need to have a certificate of sponsorship from that employer, and they need to do a job that's on the list of eligible occupations and be paid a minimum salary relevant to the type of job they do. And again, there is a list of eligible occupations available on the government website which can be checked out. The person applying will also need to prove their knowledge of English as part of their application. In general, now people cannot come to the UK to work if they would earn less than £20,480 to be exact, and they're not qualified to at least the equivalent of A-level. At the time of the referendum, many of my tenants contacted me to ask if they would be asked to leave the UK once Brexit was agreed. It's not quite as black and white as that, but what they do need to do now, though, is apply for the EU settlement scheme. They have until June this year to do so. If they've lived in the UK from before the 31st of December 2020, they must put in an application in order to have a right to stay. Applications can be made online and is free of charge. They simply need their ID and national insurance number to get started. In some cases, they may be asked for additional documentation, and a copy of their tenancy contract may be requested, for example. If they've lived here for more than 5 years, then they will be awarded settled status, which means they will have an indefinite leave to remain. Once someone has settled status, they can choose to go on to apply for British citizenship if they wish to do so. If people have lived in the UK for less than 5 years, before the 31st of December 2020, and their application is successful, they will be awarded pre-settled status. This means they will still have the same rights to work, study and receive healthcare, but they're only entitled to temporary leave to remain in the country for up to 5 years. At this point, they would need to reapply for settled status. For now, there's no impact on the right to rent checks we as landlords need to carry out. There is no additional burden to check a prospective tenant's right to work in the country from January. I think it's likely that after June, the change will simply be any documents relating to EEA citizens will be removed from the list of acceptable documents under the right to rent checks. Going forwards, we'll get used to seeing more residence permits from people looking to rent who've arrived from overseas. If you've got any questions on anything I've covered here, or if you've got any questions about property management issues that you're facing, do feel free to drop me an email at info@thepropertymanagementprogram.co.uk. If you want to keep up to date with the changing legislation impacting property owners, there are plenty of ways you can do that. I have a YouTube channel, PMP TV, that you can subscribe to. I regularly post short videos on topics relevant to property management. In terms of what's going on in the private rented sector, we're particularly busy as a result of the coronavirus crisis, but there's also ongoing legislation changes that's been in the pipeline for some time as well, so I cover all of that too. We have an open group on Facebook called Investors Circular, which you're more than welcome to join, and I'm on LinkedIn as well, so do feel free to connect with me there too.